Oh, there we go. All right, hello everybody. So this is a talk about MakerDAO and the end game, and it's from complexity to resilience, MakerDAO's journey towards decentralized SubDAOs. So let's get started. So who am I? I'm Sam. I've had kind of a unique journey with regards to Maker. So I started with Ethereum and joined the whole crypto space in the 2017 bull run, just as a hobbyist investor like most, I think. I was hunting around for projects that I liked beyond Ethereum and stumbled across Maker in January of 2018. You guys remember the projects back then, there was a lot of crazy stuff, and Maker was like the first things like, this is actually something, it's not insanity. So I joined the project. I really liked it. I was a long time sort of forum lurker. Back then, the Maker Foundation was entirely running everything. The DAO was just kind of, it was there, but it wasn't really deciding anything. So single collateral DAI had just launched, I believe that was December of 2017. So I messed around with the protocol, opened a CDP. It was a lot of fun. And then for a couple of years, just lurking in the forum, observing what was going on, and just appreciating it from a distance. So fast forward to 2020. This was still the Maker Foundation was mostly in charge. I've been a 20+ years software engineer, but I picked up Solidity. I programmed my first thing, which was the Flashmint module, which was later onboarded to Maker. This was August of 2020. And then later on in that year, I developed the PSM, which is the first community-contributed smart contract. Previously, the foundation was building everything. This was the first thing that was spearheaded by the DAO. And at that time, we were bootstrapping the DAO process, and I was involved in that process. So this transitions to the second phase, where in, when was it? Summer of 2021, the Maker Foundation fully dissolved and gave complete control, including their portion of the Maker, back to the DAO. So the DAO was fully in charge. And the structure at that time, it looked like Maker holders were voting on every single issue, and the workforce was in what are called core units, which are, they were specialized based on their field of work. So I was in the protocol engineering core unit, so we built smart contracts, maintained the protocol, that kind of stuff. But there was like BD and growth core unit, there's a risk core unit, there's all the different types of core units, and the workforce was kind of divided by like this. So where we're now is the next phase. So fully DAO, it was sort of a good first iteration, but it's not going to work, and I'll get into more why that is in a bit. But so now we're entering into the next phase, which is decentralized beast mode, SubDAOs. So dividing things up, and I'll get into that now actually. So let's go over the challenges of what the first iteration of the DAO structure was. So DAOs, the structure is very flat, and so like flat structures, this doesn't really, it's nice in theory, everything's all communal and stuff like that, but in practice you kind of get unofficial power structures, politicking, that kind of stuff just fills the gaps. So in particular, the DAO challenges efficiency. Wasn't very quick at executing. Everything had to be debated politically, had to go through long periods of governance, which having worked with several partners at the time, people often got frustrated with the process, and they would just throw their hands up and give up. So this was a huge problem. Resilience, another issue. As I said, the politicking was a big problem with Maker. It didn't really present itself until the bear market kicked in. Bull markets are very good at hiding the issues with your projects and protocols. So that was kind of hidden from view, but once the bear market started kicking in and we had, like the DAO had to start making hard choices like firing and layoffs and stuff like that, the whole thing was just grinding to a halt. So this to me is not resilient at all. And the other issue is voter apathy. The free rider problem is an ongoing issue with DAOs, and that if you're a Maker holder, like why do I lock my Maker in and spend my time learning everything? These protocols are extremely complex. So like, what is the incentive to do that? There's not much. So I'll just throw my maker in an LP or something to get a better return. So this is a big issue, and it's ongoing. So in order to overcome these challenges, the strategy is to divide and conquer. Instead of having everything in this single DAO, where really it's a political beast, where factions, some people want maximum decentralization, some people want maximum growth, and they all kind of fight in the same structure. The idea is to, instead of having everybody fight in a single DAO, you split up into multiple competitive sub-DAOs and have the people who are like-minded join into the sub-DAO that they prefer. So there's a sub-DAO for growth orientation. There's a sub-DAO for decentralization maximalism, or whatever. Like, it could be just memes. It doesn't really matter. It's like you get to pick to be a part and contribute to the change you want to see in the world, is the idea. And the other piece that I think kind of gets ignored is the A in DAOs. So automation gets overlooked. It's unfortunate we kind of have to have humans involved, but as we all know, humans in positions of power are prone to corruption and centralization, all these bad effects that we don't want. So we really need to start pushing forward with the A in DAOs, which is the automation. And this is the AI portion. So with simplifying the Maker core into this very simple structure, we can have AIs that are enforcing and enacting the rules eventually. Right now, humans need to still do this process, but this is the goal. So yeah, SubDAOs are basically decentralized, specialized divisions within MakerDAO. They can build their own unique governance process, their own memes, their own whatever. It's like, it's build your own SubDAO, but it has this special privilege relationship to Maker. If they follow the rules that are set by Maker Core, which are these guiding principles, they get access to Maker liquidity, which is, there's no comparison in DeFi to Maker liquidity. This is what you want to build the protocols that you want. So there's three things, three kind of important pieces with the Maker Core. So there's what's called alignment artifacts. These are the rules that Maker Core sets. So these are kind of general principles as Maker is underwriting all of the credit going out right now. Like, there needs to be due diligence and stuff like that at a high level. So this will be rules about maintaining the peg. So there's like a stability and liquidity alignment artifact where you have to maintain the peg, and there's rules on returns, and you have to post junior capital. I mean, I'm not going to get into it right now, but these are basically just the rules. There is governance AI tools, and again, this is moving towards the A in DAO, where we want to replace the humans. Right now, we need the humans as kind of like in Maker Core as more bureaucrats that are just say, does this follow the rules? Yes or no, therefore it's accepted. No creative thinking, and this is important to prevent these sort of politicking and there's been no corruption, but eventually it will lead to corruption if the status quo is kept. So this is an important thing to work towards. And then the Atlas, this is the Constitution. So this will be just the values, the core values of MakerDAO that people can align behind, much like a constitution of a country, sort of more at a soft human level. So another interesting thing that's happened, or that is happening now, Maker traditionally, the balance sheet has been entirely operated by Maker Core. So let me run through the three main things that people are probably used to now. So CDPs was the first asset side of the balance sheet. So this is loans against crypto collateral, against your ETH, against your staked ETH. I think most people are familiar with this by now. The second primary thing that was added in 2020 was the addition of stablecoins, and this is to maintain the peg. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing that was added is the DAI direct deposit module, first to Aave, and then later to Compound. So this was basically just, you mint the DAI and then you just stick it in these protocols, and then they act as the lending engine as opposed to doing everything inside Maker Core. So the new structure is a little bit different. The asset side of the balance sheet is going to be entirely managed by the SubDAOs. This means nothing in Maker Core, there's no decisions being made in Maker Core about what to allocate the asset side to. So there is 4 what are called allocator DAOs, And they can basically, they're free, they're privileged, they're free to mint DAI at will and then stick it into any investment opportunity that presents itself. So I have some examples on the right of investments. Some of these are like treasury investments. You see Spark protocol at the bottom. This is the protocol that I work on. So this is like just another investment you can look at it that earns some return. So for the purposes of the allocator DAOs, their job is fairly simple. They just need, well, it's not simple, but the rules are simple, but enacting this is actually quite difficult. They basically need to balance between maximizing return and maintaining the peg. So there is going to be a market-driven, everything is going to convert into what Maker charges a market-driven base rate. It charges this to the allocator DAOs. And this will adjust based on the price of DAI. So DAI is reintroducing something that looks like the target rate feedback mechanism, going to a soft peg, no longer hard pegged one-to-one with the PSMs, the stablecoins. And instead, if the price goes up or below $1, then the base rate will, the rate that is charged to the allocator DAOs will increase or decrease as necessary. And this enforces that the allocator DAOs can keep 100% of the spread that they earn on top of the base rate. So what this means in practice is that they will be allocating to the highest yield, safest investments. And there is other caveats. You need to have junior capital and stuff for riskier investments. But let's say treasuries, fairly safe. They allocate to treasuries, high yield, safe, fairly safe investment right now, and then they have to balance it with maintaining some amount of on-chain liquidity, market making the peg and stuff like that. So this is a very interesting new system that's coming online shortly. So in particular for our SubDAO, we, Phoenix Labs, is my company. We are building the Spark protocol, and we are trying to foster a culture of decentralization, DeFi in one of the SubDAOs. So we're bootstrapping this culture. We want to invite others to join us. So what we have is the SubDAO treasuries. They're each bootstrapped with a bunch of new Gov token, but it's essentially Maker, to give it some fundamental value. All the revenue earned by the SubDAO goes into a SubDAO treasury and acts as, it's really like a mini version of Maker. It can allocate to various investments and has a treasury, and this is a junior capital. As this surplus buffer builds, you are free to do more risky investments as Maker Core is no longer underwriting the majority of the credit. Junior capital to protect first losses. So our SubDAO, as I said, is very DeFi-oriented. We want to focus on scalable, decentralized collateral. We are also building a decentralized front end so that getting back to retail, we want to go multi-chain. We want to go where the users are. I don't know, so if you guys remember back in the day, opening up your first CDP and not spending $1,000 to have to do that is invaluable for new users and getting people excited about this stuff. So we need to get back to that. And so we will be going multi-chain to get the scalability that we need. We are partnering. This is not our SubDAO. This is open to everybody. So we're partnering with Arrakis, Gnosis, and we're wanting to build up this portfolio of people who are like-minded, get involved in this SubDAO and contribute in whatever way you specialize. You know, it's not all us. It's very open. And then, yeah, the fourth thing is multi-chain, as I said, and we're looking at advanced allocation strategies too. So I think this is going to have a very big impact on DeFi. I think previously Maker, and I think rightly so, has had this perception from the outside of being very closed off, very insider, and just very frustrating to deal with. And this is being flipped entirely on its head now with the SubDAO system. So I think this is going to be very big projects, and stablecoin liquidity is king. Like, this is how every project lives or dies, and this is what Maker has that is in excess right now. So you have your great project, you can then ignite it with Maker liquidity. Get it by getting involved with the SubDAO system. I think this is going to be a very big change. So to get more involved, we have the Twitter. On the Maker forum, we have a forum that's dedicated to our SubDAO. There's other SubDAOs too. So some are more focused on real-world assets. So if that interests you, get involved there. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Any questions for Sam to start? Yeah.
Great talk, mate. Thanks for that. So a question, I found it interesting that for you in the A for DAO, it was automation. Obviously, DAOs, the term is still hotly contested. And for many people, it's autonomy. I see the two being very different, though. So how does that, where are you guys at in the scale of automation versus autonomy?
Yeah, I guess it is autonomy. I think I just misremembered that. So yeah, autonomy is important for like running yourself, I guess. Yeah, I think they're both important. Automation I view as important. Maybe it's not one of the letters, but as I said, humans who are involved in positions of power, it just tends to lead to rent-seeking, corruption, and the things we don't want, the things we're trying to get away from in DeFi. So, like, to me, the long-term goal with all this stuff is ungovernance, right? Where you can't get rid of humans, you make competitive markets. So it's all just part of the process of doing what we're here to do, in my view.
So yeah, so like trust minimization.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. And in terms of where you guys are at, if you look at D being a 1 to 10, so decentralization, like 1 being completely centralized, so the foundation, for example, and then 10 being the SubDAOs being completely decentralized, and the same for A and the same for O, how would you rate yourselves 1 to 10 in each of those subjects?
Like right now?
Yeah.
I think most protocols are pretty bad right now in terms of most of these metrics. I think, I mean, I don't think I think it's worthwhile to be like building towards something and have a goal, but I don't view most DAOs as actually being any of these letters right now. I think this is just like a goal we're working towards. If you look behind almost everything in DeFi right now, there's centralization vectors and everything, multi-sigs, whatnot. But it doesn't mean that the goal isn't worthwhile. So like where we are, I don't know numbers, but yeah, probably as of right now, poor on most metrics.
So poor is the answer, honestly. 1 to 10.
Thanks again for the talk. You said the SubDAOs will be competitive. So are there any checks in place to prevent maybe there's some market conditions or some scenario where one SubDAO becomes extremely performant and maybe takes share from the others? Is there some limiting you have in mind to stop one from becoming too powerful?
Yeah, so there's a whole tokenomics design that I didn't get into about how the cash flows are converted into value for the SubDAO tokens. There's SubDAO tokens, by the way. And Maker Core is, there is some like base rules that prevent these sort of runaway effects of like somebody just takes the entire pie because it's going to be, you want a competitive environment for the best experience for the users and for everybody pretty much. So Maker does have tokenomics rules that will enforce this.
Okay, and to be clear, the end goal with AI involvement and governance is to completely remove the human element outside of Maker Core, or is it also including Maker?
In Maker Core. There is humans involved. It's very human-oriented at the edges. So this is where the growth and innovation and the efficiency, like people move fast, they build the things they want, but because it's competitive, it prevents rent-seeking, corruptionist kind of stuff because you need to be actively trying to provide the best user experience, otherwise you get outcompeted. But yes, so for Maker Core, no humans. For the edges, very pro-human.
Understood, thanks.
Yeah, I can pass it to him and then.
The question about checks was a perfect intro for me. Are there any checks to prevent that, for example, some bigger or biggest holders like Rune itself, which I think he aggregated something like 20% of Maker supply, that he won't be preferring some SubDAOs which he likes for whatever reason, or he knows their people?
Yeah, so in general, the token holders, it's still a plutocratic system at the core. So those token holders who have more Maker are, it's their right to be able to decide how the protocol goes. But it's in their best interest to have the SubDAOs competitive. Because if everything just piles into one SubDAO, it's just going to have the same problems as before. It's not going to actually be any of the decentralized or autonomous yeah. Yeah, I didn't get into that, but there's going to be voter incentives added to the system. So people are going to be paid to vote. Now, you can't just do that without thinking about it. It's a very dangerous thing. Once you turn on voter incentives, if you do it wrong, like the ship is set to sail at that point, and you can't interrupt it. So a lot of thought is going into how to make the system resilient for the long term, and then you set it out to sea with these voter incentives being turned on. And this is designed to be such that the end users, there will be AI-driven explanations of what's going on. There'll be delegates, and then you'll be like, do you like these core values? Very simple things. You're going to stake your maker in governance because you want to earn a return, and then, all things being equal, you'll pick the values you like, and then this is the idea behind it. But the core is still a plutocracy, right? Yeah.
So to automate everything, you kind of need ironclad objective functions, right? So basically to kind of optimize for. So basically, how are these formulated and how are these ranked? Because obviously, sometimes they compete with one another. So so basically,
so this is the rules of the system, the alignment artifacts. In very general language, it's outlined what the rules of Maker Core are. And these are going to evolve a bit, but Maker Core is evolving into more of it's bureaucratic is a boring word, but you want it to be boring, right? Like you want the rules to be very clear, and it's just going to be like evaluations at a high level of like, what are these SubDAOs doing? How much credit are we giving to them? Like, are they doing risky investments and stuff like that? Okay, they need to be posting more first loss capital, stuff like that. Yeah, does that answer your question?
yeah, but kind of who actually does the things that are not automated? It's because basically those kind of defining those objective functions, that's really what kind of drives the organization, right? So basically who kind of, and who course corrects after the fact? So basically, is it all done in the Maker forum, or are you back to the politicking that you had earlier?
So who decides? I mean, so the idea is to set out the constitution and the rule book so that it works indefinitely. Now, obviously, it's not going to be perfect right off the bat, but it's to strive towards this goal of deciding as minimal amount, like this is the value set. You want to decide as little as possible inside the core and just continually work towards that. And once you feel it's sufficient enough, you set it free and you get rid of the humans altogether.
Okay, and the value set is being hashed out by the MKR token holders on the forum.
Yeah, maker holders are ultimately the authority on everything.
So cool. I will take just a moment to talk about how you can ask questions in live chat, because of course there is a factory DAO setup that is done on the app, and that is exactly what it's supposed to do, rather than taking power from me as a moderator to all the people. So they are all in queue. But thanks, Sam, for.
Oh yeah, and there's shirts up here.
Yeah, the shirts are up here for grabs. We'll have the next lineup right after it. Thank you.